the biggest challenge for infrastructure in the emerging markets is delivery, in my view, at least from where I come from. Egypt is a very renewable resource rich economy, yet we lack the infrastructure to be able to handle that magnitude. So we need transmission lines, export media for the renewables, either renewables going towards products, final products, green products, or as raw electrons passing through cables across the Mediterranean into the EU. So these are part of our biggest challenges. Equitable infrastructure linkage between EMs and developed markets is probably one of the biggest investment gaps that need to be bridged. And of course, a little bit of, green easing, if I may call it that, towards EMs, because the renewables decarbonization is probably going to happen somewhere else outside of the developed markets and industrial economies, and it'll probably sit predominantly in Africa, North Africa, that's where I come from. And if we need to develop that, we need to bridge that with equitable demand, bankable demand, and that bankability is probably one of the biggest challenges we're also facing. So if you unlock those issues, then funds will flow, you will unlock the floodgates for investments to flow into infrastructure. And of course, infrastructure, renewable and sustainable infrastructure is plenty in Africa. We drive balance sheet and co-investment, risk sharing. Sovereign funds are unique animals because they have the trust of their own governments, so they can lobby their own governments, and the governments listen to what sovereign funds say, and they are honest about returns, they are honest about sustainability, they're honest about future generation goals. So there's good alignment when you lobby governments to open up asset classes. And of course, you deliver displacement of government spending into infrastructure with private sector spending, with private consortia coming in and developing those pieces of infrastructure. I think that's a good mediation segue into those investments. So it sums it up in ESG. So the discipline and the diplomacy of sovereign fund co-investment disciplines brings ESG to the table. Most of the emerging markets you can hit an easy an E, you hit an S anywhere in EMs. The G is the biggest challenge in emerging markets, and I think the acumen and the quality and the standard of sovereign funds investment tools are mainstream, and their investment discipline keeps everything at par globally. So it becomes a mainstream co-investment environment. I think this is one of the biggest roles that co-investments of sovereign funds do. And on the other side, you also direct your attention towards where you crowd in the private sector, where you crowd in investment partners with your own decarbonization targets, with your own green portfolios, creating instruments that are amenable to private equity funds, long life future generation funds, even pension funds from across the world can actually find very relatable investment opportunity in those sovereign funds. My first COP was last year in our own hometown in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. Our aspiration was this becomes an implementation COP. We succeeded. This time around in 28, we hope that this momentum continues because we've come a long way in terms of making sure that sustainable investments are more equitable and are actually more accretive from a return standpoint. So now the language has changed, it evolved. And our aspiration is we find a more non-offensive way, more educated audience about sustainable investments and the returns they can generate across the value chain.